Welcome to another episode of L.I.F.S. Good morning, guys. Hope you're well. Nice to see you both.
Good morning, Matthew. Well, it's good afternoon here. It's 1 p.m. Eastern in DC. And Glen, welcome. It's 10 p.m. correct?
10 p.m.
Whereabouts are you, Glen?
I'm based in Dubai, in the UAE.
Very good, very good. Well, Mo, maybe a brief introduction to Glen.
Absolutely.
As you've been able to get him to join the L.I.F.S. podcast this week.
Yeah, and I think we have some relevant topics that we'll be talking about where Glen's insight will really be helpful for the audience. But Glen, thank you so much for being on episode 7 of L.I.F.S., calling all the way in from Dubai. We'll get into your typical bedtime and how you are staying late for us. So we do appreciate that, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. Just some background for Glen. I mean, Glen is currently the CEO of Les Mills International for the Middle East, India, and Africa region. Glen's been in the fitness industry for over 20 years, founding his first sports nutrition company while in the University of New Zealand, and then growing that to become the country's largest in its field, and eventually leading to a successful exit to a private equity firm. Since then, Glen has traveled the globe, establishing Les Mills subs in Japan, China, Brazil, India, and the Middle East, where he is currently based. Thank you for joining, Glen.
Yeah, thanks for having me both. It's an honor to be here. I'm quite excited. Lots to talk about today.
Well, the first story, it seems as though you've got a bit of a unique insight, and I'll read this is the article in Health Club Management, and it goes on to say, JD Gyms, part of listed company JD Sports Fashion PLC, has sold UAE health club operator GymNation to a management buyout team backed by investors, TriCap Investments and Ruya Partners. Goes on to say, along with the transaction, the company has established an equity incentivization scheme for its wider management team. GymNation has also reported that it's signed 4 more locations in the UAE and 6 in Saudi Arabia, while also commencing the formation of trading companies in Qatar and Bahrain. GymNation team was advised by DLA Piper Partners, Ben Trainer, PwC Middle East, and James Wigglesworth in Inflection Private Equity. I know JD Gyms, but I know nothing about what they've been doing in the Middle East. So maybe Mo, do you want to kick this one off?
Yeah, so I, like you, actually did not know JD Gyms, but I visited Dubai earlier this year. Actually, Matthew, I was there with your brother and Remco as well from Escape, and we had a chance to tour a lot of different facilities. We really wanted to understand the explosive growth that is currently happening in the MENA region. And one of the gyms that we had a chance to visit was GymNation, and I had a chance to sit down with Lauren, visit one of his flagship locations in Dubai. And I was truly impressed. I was truly impressed with his model and his vision towards bringing a modern, high energy, a highly designed kind of attitude and environment into Dubai. And I know, Glen, they've also been able to incorporate Les Mills, but what was really interesting when speaking with him, I'm from Dubai. I was born there and spent the early part of my life there, so I'm familiar with that region. And that region, one unique thing about Dubai itself is that it is dominated by expats. And what works in Dubai doesn't always work in the rest of the region. But what Lauren and team really had plans for is taking the model that has worked so well in Dubai and the UAE and expanding it to other regions, most notably to Saudi Arabia, which I think has the greatest growth opportunity for fitness and wellness. So I'm excited to see this happen. I think this is something that I know he's been wanting to happen this year. I think it's a good move for him. But Glen, you've had a close relationship with not only GymNation, but a lot of gyms in the MENA region. Would love to get your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, the GymNation story is quite amazing, actually. I remember Frank, the other co-founder, and Lauren coming and sitting in my office back in 2017 with the idea to launch the first HVLP club chain in the region. And there was a legitimate belief at the time that the residents of Dubai did not want a budget club, that they wanted premium, that they wanted luxury, that Dubai's reputation was all about 5-star silver service, and they saw a gap in the market. And I remember having a conversation with them, and everyone thought, to be honest, everyone thought they were crazy. Everyone thought there was just no place for a budget operator in the region. I left Dubai in 2018 to set up our subsidiary in Brazil, came back in 2019, and their flagship club on Shakes Iron Road had opened. It had 8,000 members and was just absolutely pumping. It had 5,000 pre-opening. So that was really a proof of concept. And now they've gone on to just, I think they've just opened their 11th club in the UAE, 60,000 members. And the MBO that they've just done really allows them to scale. They were kind of being hamstrung a little bit, and they wanted to grow into Saudi and some of the other GCC. So it's been amazing to watch their success. I mean, looking back, I think, we've seen kind of the disruption that budget operators have done and have made in the US and throughout Europe and the rest of the world. I think we're kind of naive to believe that wasn't going to happen here, and they've just come in and taken the ball by the horns and run with it. So their success has just been amazing. They've got 6 locations in Saudi secured, and I think Saudi a little bit different, as you said, Mo, a little bit different to the Dubai market. Well, a lot different actually, but they will, in my opinion, cause the same degree of disruption there that they've done in the UAE.
What are they doing on their model, Glenn? Are they doing anything different than traditional HVLP brands? Are they, are they offering Group X, for example, with you guys, or is it just a traditional sort of low cost model?
Yeah, so it is probably at the top end of the low cost operators. So they have a full Group X timetable. They have a boutique club within their club called L.I.F.T.S. We partner, Les Mills partners with Adidas, and I had the Adidas head office come and visit me in Dubai a couple of months ago, and I was taking them on a tour, and I took them to a premium club and then took them to GymNation, and they actually couldn't tell the difference between the two. The delta actually isn't there except in the price. They're half the price. So they really are just operating on high volume of members and large footprint clubs. These kind of 60, 80,000 square feet clubs.
What do you think was the motivation then for JD to come out? Because I know they're certainly in the UK, they do beautiful clubs, and I've heard they've done extremely well. They seem to be backed by the JD group, which has stores across the globe. So they're JD Sport and Fashion that own them. So what do you think they've sort of sold to more of a local operator then? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, so originally GymNation were backed by, they had backers Select Group, which were obviously different backers. Then they moved to JD, and that did allow them to scale. That did give them the funding to scale. I think they went from 4 to 10 or 11 clubs, as I said. Their plans are really just to grow across the region, and obviously this management buyout just allows them to do that. They're the controlling equity holders now, so they're able to kind of do what they want, and I guess they're not having to answer to anyone else, which is ultimately what Frank, Lauren, and Ant, the founders, wanted.
And Glenn, in the Dubai market, I usually describe it as being the incubator or the lab for testing new concepts. Dubai, last I checked in 2022, had over 930 fitness studios or locations, which is just remarkable given the size of the city. You've got established players there like Fitness First, Fitness Time, and some others. Then you've got these new up-and-coming players. Warehouse Gym, I guess I wouldn't consider them new. They've been around for some time, but they definitely are creating this experiential type of gym. And you've got L.I.F.T., which has done, remarkable things. I don't know if that's the luxury club that you were referencing, but I think L.I.F.T's done incredible things. What do you think it is about Dubai and the MENA region that's allowing it to incubate some new ideas and new concepts? And I guess what kind of growth do you think could happen in the region over the next 10 years?
Yeah, I don't have an answer to that question. I think, as you alluded to at the top of the podcast, the over 80, close to 90% of the population of Dubai are expats. So we're all living away from home, we're away from our family, and fitness allows us to connect. So, I've been involved, when I first moved, I was involved in a club chain here where their entire value proposition was social fitness, because, we don't have, as I said, we don't have family here or that network that you traditionally have. I don't know why fitness is taking off and why there's so much investment in that space, but it's working. The industry continues to grow, and GymNation, just as a case in point, have effectively everywhere they put a facility, the belief is, well, there's probably 10 other facilities within a 5-mile radius. It's saturated, and yet they continue to grow. So we're still I think we're still in terms of penetration into the population, still in high single digits, maybe 9-10%. So I still think we've got some growth to go.
Well, we'll move on to the next story now, which is about F45. This is in news.com, and it says that the co-founder of troubled gym chain F45, Rob Deutsch, I think that's how you pronounce his name, has re-emerged with involvement in a new gym chain run by former F45 franchisee. Mr. Deutsch has become a partner and strategic advisor in the Yard Gym, a chain with 18 gyms, mainly in New South Wales, but one in Queensland, 2 in San Diego, operating under a franchise model. Co-founder of F45 in 2012, Mr. Deutsch left the company in 2020 after expressing he wasn't in favor of its plans to list on the New York Stock Exchange.
This is an interesting one. So he left F45 in 2019 before it went public, and they kind of had this huge scale up and then impending downfall in the public market. F45 as a brand, and I know a lot of people, including friends and family and my colleagues, that do F45 and love it. They love it for the community feel. They love it from a workout perspective. So I think there's definitely a disconnect between how the public market views it for the things that they did do publicly and versus how it's performing locally, which I think still has a very, very strong community, and a lot of locations are still doing well. But he left F45 for whatever reason. I have not heard about the Yard. I know the Yard was founded in 2020. It is focused on strength, but they do have plans to grow. So what I'm assuming is happening here is that they're looking at a franchise model similar to F45. They're hoping that Rob's involvement could come in and I think potentially maybe avoid some of the pitfalls that he had at F45 and help them navigate this into the more correct path. And the other thing about this is I can't believe the amount of fitness that just comes out of Australia. I mean, there is just a lot of new concepts. I think it's a population, it's a country that is one filled with entrepreneurs. I mean, that's been very clear from that market itself, but just the amount of fitness concepts and brands coming out of Australia for a country that has about 20 million people is truly remarkable. And Glenn, I know Les Mills is based not too far away in New Zealand, but do you have any thoughts on Rob, on the Yard, and just fitness in general in Australia?
Look, I agree with you. I think, the way the 45 story in the public markets, I think probably I can only make it analogous to kind of the OpenAI story that's current right now. It's just been a bit of mayhem at the senior level. But the community they've created, the brand they've created is outstanding. I think I wasn't familiar with the Yard until I saw the story myself, so it's interested to see how it goes. But looking at their concept, it looks like it's got legs. It's a solid proposition, nice boutique concept that I think has the same community feel that really spawned F45 success.
It's interesting looking at the website. They've on the webpage. It looks like it's a very nice design. The one on, I think I'm looking at the one on San Diego. So the design is very boutiquey. The inside of it is a little bit CrossFitty inside with rigs and rowers and that, kettlebells and that kind of stuff. But on the outside, it seems to be premium. But the interesting thing is they seem to make a feature on the website by saying introducing the creche. And it says, what is a creche? A creche is a child minding service parents and families can access for a limited amount of time at a gym or shopping center. So it would seem, I've not seen this too much in boutique gyms, although I'm not saying that there isn't any, but it seems though they're focusing on a market where, maybe females with children, which they're picturing in there. So maybe it's, maybe be interesting to see if they're trying to tap into a slightly different market than the millennials that would normally go to some of these types of, more hip-based studios.
And Matthew, from reading the workout, it does sound like something you would enjoy, where it blends heavy functional movements with heavy weights, with some high intensity cardio as well. So I know you and I have still yet to do one of your epic workouts, which we will do the next time. But it definitely seems like it blends that. And this is really interesting, right? I mean, bringing in what I've always felt like boutique fitness was missing is that family element, right? Big gyms offer childcare and you don't have to kind of worry about that. But boutique fitness has always been a challenge. I know for my wife and I, when we went to SoulCycle or Orange Theory, we had to make sure that we had childcare in place if we wanted to do it together. So I think the fact that they're offering this as a service, I don't know if this is going to be available in all locations, but I think could really be compelling.
And the imagery they use is definitely, whether it's intentional or not, but it's definitely more of a mature look to it. And it mentions, the Yard follows the 5 most basic principles: progression, overload, specificity, individualization. And then they say that their main focus of the RIG program is things like squats, press, deadlifts. And one of the things I've certainly seen, there's a few in LA, there's one in Newport Beach here, is the sort of new strength-based concepts. I think you've had CrossFit, which is very high intensity, very skill-based. And what I'm seeing now is a lot of these concepts that are reducing the cardio in some instance, even though this one hasn't necessarily done that. And they're really focusing on building muscle and focusing on body strength, so that body weight. So it's almost like a kind of a body pump style program with a little bit more weight is what seems to be developing on boutique. So it'll be interesting to see how that concept evolves over the year ahead. Glenn, from your perspective, I know you guys do a great job at looking at trends and seeing what's happening. Is this consistent with some of the things that you guys are seeing as an organization?
Yes, 100%. Strength is completely on trend, and we have a number of new strength programs coming out as a result of that. So yeah, their value prop is right in the mix as what's on trend right now.
Okay, so I'll move on to the next story. This is one I think we've all got our own personal passion on. If you hold up your hands, guys, let me just see what's there you go. For those who listen on audio, we've got our Oura rings here. So this story is Oura, the Finnish health wearable startup, is suing one of the biggest rivals, claiming it copied its ring device and accessed proprietary information. Is it Oulu? Is that how you say it? Oulu-based company?
Yeah.
Oulu. The Oulu-based company, which makes the Oura ring health tracking device, has raised more than 140 million euros, has filed legal action against the Indian company Ultra Human. I've never heard them. They have quite a sexy looking ring by the pictures that we can see, but never heard of Ultra Human or what they've got. So Mo, this must be something that you have probably got some insights into. What do you know about this one?
Yeah, actually quite a bit. Given that this is the category that we typically play in and work with them to integrate solutions into. One, Oulu is an interesting sub-market. So Polar is also headquartered in Oulu. And if you look at Polar's founding story, they're really based on heart rate and research based around heart rate and training. So the local university really built this ecosystem around heart rate and then HRV and all the wellness kind of tools around that. Oura was formed out of that as well. So, I mean, Oulu is just this great ecosystem for heart rate performance and wellness-based solutions. But with that, I mean, Oura was the first smart ring to come out. They have a very strong presence around the world. They just hit the 1 million smart rings sold early this year. I think this, and as much as we love our Oura, and it's funny, right? Like Glenn, when I asked you to be a guest on this podcast, you talked about, well, my ideal sleep time is like 7:30 or 8:30 p.m. Dubai time. Matthew, you and I compare our sleep scores and recovery scores. So we definitely have a community, and it's a good product that a lot of people love and use. But I think this is going to be an uphill battle for them. This is not the first lawsuit that Oura's had. In fact, last year in 2022, they sued another smart ring company called Circular for something that is similar. Now they have a lawsuit against Ultrahuman. Ultrahuman is an Indian-based startup. They have, I'm sure, looked at Oura's leadership position, and Oura's claim here is that they copied the ring design, the fact that it's a ring, but more importantly on the UX and UI, and they identified things like how they have showed and displayed sleep stages in particular. They also called it some other things for how sharing would work. Now, in reality, the way you share things or do an AirDrop or anything like that through an Apple device pretty much looks the same, and it's very hard to make your product different. And on sleep stages, I went back after this lawsuit came out and I looked at how sleep stages is presented from Polar, Garmin, Apple, other sleep apps, and then Oura and even Ultrahuman. And you know what? They all look pretty similar. So, do
you think they're flexing? They're flexing their muscles. They're a startup, and it's like, look, we just want to stop them before they turn into anything substantial. Do you think that's more the case rather than they've got a lot to actually go on?
I think that's it. I think the other one too is the fact that Ultrahuman is based in India, and India, and Glenn, I'd love to get your PV on this here, but I think India is a huge untapped market for health and wellness that is about to really take off over the next 5 years. And everyone wants to have a piece of that, right? Oura wants to be in there, Apple wants to be in there, big tech wants to be in there. And they're looking at these, like competitors come through, and I think they're going to do as much as they can to dismiss them and try to protect the patents. I still think it's going to be a challenge. Now, what Oura does have, which Ultrahuman and companies like Circular do not have, is very, very deep pockets. And I think they'll be able to innovate their way out of these types of competitors and stay 2 to 3 years ahead of where most everyone else is going to be to still be the best in class product.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have to admit I have a bias here. I absolutely love my Oura. I'm a terrible sleeper. I always have. It's really, really helped me. And I'm sure it will be reprimanding me tomorrow for going to bed a bit later. Ultrahuman being based in India, and obviously that's in fairly close geographic proximity to where we are. I've kind of watched them right from their Kickstarter. And so I did take a close look at this filing, and I agree with you, Mo. There are some aspects of it that are probably a bit of a reach, but it even compares Ultrahuman's marketing against Oura's marketing, and they are copy-paste. So I think probably if you look at it and take individual aspects of it, like sleep scores or like the way that the scores are displayed, there's an argument to be made that it's probably a hard battle and an uphill battle for them. But I think the entire case, especially with the marketing side by side, it's quite jarring to see how similar it is. And it's clear that I guess Ultrahuman has taken, at least some of their inspiration, at the very least from Oura. How much of that is legally enforceable, I guess, remains to be seen.
But the surprise when you look at this article is that the Oura, I didn't realize, valued at 2.5 billion. And then they reckon this wearable market for fitness trackers is expected to be worth 258 billion. So I guess there's a lot to fight for in this space, certainly at this stage, when really at the moment outside of them and Whoop, they're really the market leaders. But yeah, it's a lot bigger of an opportunity than I realized.
And it's a hard space to carve out. I mean, Oura, and you mentioned Whoop as well, has really done a lot of work in educating population on why HRV is important, why sleep is important, why recovery is important. That's a lot of investment. It's a lot of work that they put forth. Oura also recently, for the US here, got FSA and HSA approved, which is the first non-medical grade device to achieve that distinction. I know for a fact, as someone that's done that is not an easy task. It does take a lot of work to do. So I think to see someone come in right behind them and copy, to your point, Glenn, the marketing probably isn't good. But the question is, do they have a case? And you look at even what Samsung has done with Apple. I mean, Samsung has copied Apple from a marketing perspective for many years. Apple has copied Samsung from a technology perspective for many years. And last time I was in China, if you look at some of the car designs that are out there, you don't know if it's a BYD or an Audi because they look so similar. So I think the fact that we're now going into a more of a global economy, the fact that wellness and fitness is a global initiative, not just something that the West is going to be focused on, but we're now going to be going into emerging and I think leading markets, namely MENA, India, and China over the next decade. You're going to see more and more conflicts like this, I believe, happen. So I'm going to be watching this case pretty closely.
Yeah. Well, moving on to the last story then. This is an article from Leisure Opportunities, and it says Lifetime gets into the medical wellness market with the new Moira brand. Last week, we spoke about the semaglutide initiative, and this is another story which goes into a similar area, and it says Lifetime is launching into the medical wellness market with a longevity and performance concept called Moira. The pilot is in a soft launch at Lifetime's Target Center Health Club in Minneapolis, US, with an official opening date set for November the 27th, my birthday. The company was already offering a wide range of wellness services through many of its 170 high-end health clubs across the US, including rehabilitation, chiropractic, weight loss and nutrition services, and lab testing of things such as active and resting metabolic rates. I think we've spoke about this before in previous conversations and podcasts, but it makes sense, and Lifetime, from what I know, seem to be one of the first brands that are moving into this area and grabbing it by the horns, really. And I'm not sure the demographic for a typical Lifetime member, but my guess is it's more families, a little bit older, and I think that fitness seems to be just one element of many things that you would want to get to from some sort of fitness or wellness space. And I'm really impressed with some of the things that they're doing, and would love to check it out.
Yeah, look, I mean, I feel like we talk about Lifetime every other episode at this point. So there must be doing something right to at least get in front of the news cycle and to be top of mind for the industry. I think this is the right direction. I think, when you look at additional services, whether you're a high value, low price club or a more of a premium club like Lifetime, offering wellness services, the focus on prevention, the fact that healthcare is going to come to the gym and not your hospital, and the GP is going to be really kind of obsolete in 10 years. Lifetime is getting ahead of where the industry is going. And I think, in the way that they've done things in the past, and we work with Lifetime, the way that they typically do things is they like to innovate. They're not afraid to try anything out. Do it early, do it in a controlled environment, in a small group setting, often in Chanhassen at the headquarters, and see if the concept works before they take it out across the entire brand. The interesting thing about this particular brand is one of our other brands that we work with is a brand called Remedy Place. And Remedy Place is a premium experience. They're priced at about $600 a month. Obviously, they also offer additional services and some other things that Lifetime is not offering here, but they're doing very well. So I think people are looking for ways to get that extra 2, 3, 5%. And I think it's interesting to see that, are they going to be turning to Lifetime to get their IV drips, to get these hyperbaric chambers, to really focus on wellness? And this is, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. And Glenn, I'm wondering too, in Dubai, have you seen these wellness-based concepts, these wellness-based studios come up in popularity as they have in the US?
No, I think we're behind, but I'm like you, Mo, I'm really bullish on this. I think that this is the future. I think we need to move to more of a holistic, the way that we're looking at health and wellness in a more holistic way. I'm really bullish on Ozempic and the impact that's going to have on our industry. I think it's going to bring more people in. So I haven't seen that in this region yet, but so Lifetime do really seem to be, the trailblazers here, but I think it is the future.
And I should add one thing too. This is $199 a month for a monthly membership, which I know seems excessive and expensive, But when you look at what you're getting in that membership, and if you were to add up the services, it's actually a really good value. And as I mentioned earlier, Remedy Place is closer to $600 a month for a very similar offering. So I think this is priced right for those that value these services.
Yeah, I'm just going down and reading the article. They're working with Jim Lavelle, who I interviewed. Very, very, very smart guy, and he's got this metabolic profile which looks as though it's included. And so according to this article, there's a one-off payment of $299, which covers blood work, panel, metabolic code report, which I think is from Jim, and a consultation. So that alone is pretty. It's almost like getting your blood work done by somebody that really understands what they're doing, and a health brand, which is really where you would go to a health club to understand about your health. I think that's pretty smart. And then when it goes on to some of the amenities that are included in this Moira, it says that you've got a rejuvenation and recovery space, red light therapy, infrared sauna, cryotherapy, hyperbaric oxygen, beauty and aesthetic treatments. You get your metabolic profile, which is blood work, metabolic code report, and medical consultation and physical. And I believe there's although it doesn't say it here, I've been to Jim's clinic, and there's some supplementation that you can get as a result of understanding your blood work itself, which is an interesting model. And then there's exercise programming, nutrition, personalized supplementation plan. Yeah, there you go. And access to bioidentical hormone therapy, peptide therapy, and IV. So it's when you kind of get into your sort of 40s, 50s, and 60s, this is a really, it's a great concept. And I think if certainly from my perspective, that if there was a Lifetime closer, it would be quite compelling to go there beyond just getting a workout if you knew that you could link everything up together.
Yeah, I agree. And like I said, people are seeking out these services in other places anyway. So why not give your data, give your information to a place that you're going to 3, 4, 5 times a week? I know they're also focused a lot on personalization, and I think that this adds a really interesting element into their service offering. Yes, I'm excited to maybe check this out next time I'm at the headquarters and see what Miora is about.
Well, we're up on our time now, and just any final thoughts, guys, on some of the stories that we've covered today?
Well, Glenn, first of all, thank you so much for joining. I know it's late your time. I'm sure your Oura ring will forgive you. So I will hope for I will hope for a sleep score of something in the 70s tomorrow. You have to text me and let me know what happens. But thank you for joining all the way from Dubai.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for the invite. Definitely worth staying up for. It was great. Appreciate it.
And Matthew, one other thing for our US-based audience, it is Thanksgiving week. So after this podcast, I'm going to be doing some last-minute shopping and cooking the turkey tomorrow. I'm wondering, Matthew, are you going to be cooking your turkey tomorrow?
I'm not going to be cooking my turkey tomorrow. No, we're gonna go out. I'm still sort of 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the American tradition. So I'm not. It's not quite the same thing as it is for the Americans. But I'm sure we'll be going out for a nice dinner somewhere.
Well, happy Thanksgiving, Matthew, and happy Thanksgiving to our listeners as well. We appreciate you.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Thanks, Mo, and thank you for listening to this week's episode of L.I.F.T.S.